The Orlando Magic are not a perfect team. So today we're going to talk about some of the questions remaining about this team and how they go about fixing them with their two new coaches and so much more today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is July 15th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to talk about what the Magic are getting in their two new coaches, Shammgod and Joe Prunty, officially announced on, I believe it was Friday, but we've known about them for a little while. Talk a little bit about what was said about them and what they bring to the team and how they'll help the Magic fix the lingering questions for the team. But not just them, it'll be a lot of people. But we'll get to all that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day. Every day you can make Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Be one of our everydayers. It's all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. The theme of today's episode is doubt. It's not necessarily doubt as in, oh, this is a problem that the Magic can't fix. It's doubt of the unknown. And we touched on this a little bit yesterday, so I'm going to bring you along here and let you know how I got to today's episode. I touched on this a little bit yesterday. When the Magic played the Toronto Raptors in a Summer League game, granted, a Summer League game, we saw a little bit of how this Magic team does look like without a true point guard in the lineup. We saw a little bit of how this team might struggle, might not be the full version of this team that we hope to see or that we think we will see. Now, look, it's just Summer League. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end all be all. It's not Paolo, Banchero. It's not Franz Wagner. It's not the be all end all. But it is one of the lingering questions. And so, yes, I went through some of the comments on the video, and I do read your comments. I do listen to you all. I'm not here to say it's something that we should be throwing a warning flag over or should be like panicking and running in the streets and saying, oh, the Magic failed this offseason. No, Magic had a very successful offseason. But it is something we're going to watch over the course of the season. It is something that we will look back on in April or look back on and say, did this pan out the way that we hoped? Did this work the way that we hoped it would? And again, the answer to that question right now is we don't know. I think that Jeff Weltman has been very clear on this in his availabilities. I think Jamahl Mosley's been very clear about this in his availabilities. Everything the Magic have done this offseason looks great on paper. Like, the Magic added Desmond Bane. Offense should be better. Shooting should be better. They added Tyus Jones. So they do have a true point guard on the roster. If I mischaracterized that, I apologize. They will get Jalen Suggs back healthy. They will have Paolo. They will have Franz. They have earned all the expectations that we're putting on them. But Jeff Weltman's done his job. Now it's on Jamahl Mosley. It's on the players to do their job. And so that is the next question. And so that, again, this is what I want to spend today's episode analyzing and breaking down. Are these key questions? Begin introducing the things that will determine this season. Whether the Magic can operate without a point guard, without a true point guard, whether they can truly moneyball the point guard position and get a point guard in the aggregate, that is the central question of the offseason. Because if of the upcoming season, because if the Magic can't do that, then they're just a 45-win team or a 42-win team or whatever win team. They're in the 40s still. They're too talented not to be. But they'll never get where they want to go, which is winning a championship. And they have made it very, very clear that they think they can do that. And so the next question then, beyond just whether this point guard thing works, is whether the Magic have actually improved their offense. We'll talk a little bit more about what Joe Prunty and God Shammgod are going to bring to the coaching staff and why Jamahl Mosley brought them onto the staff and why the Magic really work to improve the offense in that way. But let's make no bones about it. The next big question is whether the Magic actually improve their offense. Now, are the Magic the 27th offense in the league? The stats would say yes. We're not going to hide from that. Last year they were. If they had been healthy, would they have been that bad? I don't think they would have been. They were 21st, 22nd after during that stretch to end the season, which is still not good, but better. But we sat here, frankly, at this time last year. You could go back July 15, 2024. I don't know what I talked about on that day. I think it was a weekend too, so I probably didn't talk about anything. But we sat here last July and said, the Magic added Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Their offense should be shit. Now, again, I think Kenny's going to have a good season in Memphis. I think it just didn't work. For whatever reason, it didn't work. Don't know why. Can't tell you why. It just didn't work. But there was no sense, no clue that it wouldn't. Beyond that, we didn't think KCP was a high volume enough shooter to make it work. Beyond thinking that the Magic didn't get another playmaker creator, the Magic are trying that now. Desmond Bane is a 40% three-point shooter over the last several years, who shoots at volume, 6, 7, 8 attempts per game, and can create off the dribble and be a passer and playmaker with 5 assists per game. He's a more dynamic player. The Magic have said it a million times this summer. They wanted more skill. They wanted more shooting. They wanted IQ. They wanted more guys who could do something with the ball. And frankly, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope as a pure spot-up shooter wasn't enough. So the Magic moved on. They're trying something new. To be sure, though, whether the Magic are successful, where the Magic meet the marks that we have for them, starts with this offensive development. I'm not saying rocket science here. It shouldn't be rocket science. Stan Van Gundy and Steve Clifford used to say when they were the coaches of the Orlando Magic that to be an elite team, you got to be top 10 in both offense and defense. To be a good team, you got to be top 10 in one and top 15 in the other. The Magic last year making the playoffs with an elite defense that could not slip, that had a lot of pressure on them, an offense that just didn't work, tells you how good this Magic team can really be. But for the Magic to be better offensively, they had to do an overhaul. Now, whether that means an overhaul in strategy, I don't know. I think they will do some schematic things a little bit differently. But it was certainly an overhaul in personnel. It's adding in Desmond Bane and Tyus Jones, 2 quality shooters. It's getting Chase Richardson, who has looked like an uber-efficient scoring guard, at least in Summer League. Certainly more efficient than we've seen from a lot of Summer League guards, including Jalen Suggs, frankly, including Paolo Banchero. We haven't, Jett Howard looked pretty good last year, I'll remind you all, but Jace has looked really good. So the next part beyond the roster then is to hire these 2 new coaches. And their focus is indeed on the offense. So let's talk a little bit about what the Magic expect to get from God Shammgod and Joe Prunty, their newest coaches, coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. FanDuel is the best way to track your favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet right into the final moments, FanDuel makes it feel like you are part of the action. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. We've known that the Magic were hiring these two coaches for a very, very long time, or roughly a pretty long time. I will say that beyond just reporting that came from Mark Stein, who was really out in front of all this, Shammgod was in the building for Jace Richardson and Noah Penda's introductory press conference. We saw him over on the sideline over by the Magic locker room. He was chatting with Jamahl Mosley after the press conference was done. We've known this wasn't a shock. And when the Magic finally made it official on Friday, it was not a surprise. It was not a shock. I'm going to say all this with this warning. We as the public don't always know what all the responsibilities are for every assistant coach. Now, assistant coaches will tend to work with their set of players as part of their player development program. So like Dale Osborne is widely recognized as sort of the architect of the Magic's defense. He's sort of, I don't want to say defensive coordinator because that's not his position, but if you've watched a Magic game, watch the Magic bench, one of the assistant coaches is always standing up and clapping and screaming. He got a technical foul for clapping earlier this season. It was rescinded. It was a 1-point loss to the Grizzlies. But he's largely known as the defensive coordinator, but he mostly individually works with the bigs. He works with Wendell Carter, Mo Wagner, Goga Bitadze, Jonathan Isaac a little bit. He's the guy that you'll see working with them. Jesse Mermis, who has reportedly left the Magic for the Phoenix Suns. I don't know if he is exactly the offensive coordinator, but whether the Magic decided not to renew a contract, whether the Magic decided to go in a different direction, whether the Magic, whether the Magic were looking to replace him knowing he was going to leave, the Magic went out and got Joe Prunty. Now, Joe Prunty has been an interim head coach on several occasions, twice for the Milwaukee Bucks. He coached with Jamahl Mosley while he was in Cleveland in the early aughts or early 2010s. This was the interregnum between LeBrons, actually. He's been with a lot of teams. He's been with the Spurs. He's been with the Bucks. He's been with the Hawks. He's been with the Suns. He's been with a lot of different coaches. A very, very experienced head coach who has been knocked on the door of being a head coach, being an interim coach. He's been a lead assistant enough to get that job, to get that nod when the head coach has been let go. Jamahl Mosley, who spoke to Jason Beatty, the Orlando Sentinel, and I truly encourage you to read that article from Jason. It was published on Sunday night, I believe. Sunday night, Monday morning, somewhere in there. We'll have Jason on after Summer League ends. He asked, he's been in Vegas. He's the Magic reporter in Vegas. He asked Mosley what the Magic are getting in these two assistant coaches. And Jamahl Mosley pretty much said it straight up that Joe Prunty is going to be there to help get some fresh ideas, some fresh thoughts in on the offense and provide I don't want to say different tactical vision, but to provide a new perspective on how the Magic run their offense. This is a good thing. Obviously, the 27th best offense. He needs some new ideas. He needs some fresh looks. Prunty is pretty well recognized for his offensive acumen. I wouldn't say he's like an offensive genius or offensive savant, but he's known for drawing up plays and doing good on after timeout plays. And even under Doc Rivers and even under some of the coaches he's been with, being a guy who makes those plays and sets teams up to get shots after timeouts, do the ATOs. That's where coaches really make their money as X's and O's guys. Everything else is just reads and running through sets. Prunty Prunty is an offensive hire. And I think, again, while I would generally warn you can't assign any one responsibility to any one coach. Because remember, Jamahl Mosley was the quote unquote defensive coordinator under Rick Carlisle, and the Mavericks never finished higher than 11th in defensive rating when Jamahl Mosley had that designation. And he comes to Orlando, and the Magic are one of the best defensive teams in the league. Some of it is you're tied down by personnel, and just it's figuring out how to get the most out of that personnel. Prunty, I think it is very safe to say that Prunty is, if not the offensive coordinator, he is there to help revitalize this offense. He is here to revamp this offense. And so before we get to anything else, the Magic looked at their roster and said, we need more offensive talent. And they looked at their coaching staff, and opportunity arose and spots opened up, and the Magic looked at who they had and what they were doing and decided to make a change. I will note Jeremiah Bosworth is still with the team. He is largely considered the Magic shooting coach. I would say that is mostly accurate, but he works with specific players. He doesn't always, I don't think he's working with the entire team. So I wouldn't blame him for all of the Magic shooting moments, but yes, he is a shooting coach. Joe Prunty is there to make the offense better. And so the Magic, again, looked at their coaching staff. Opportunity, space is open. They made the move to make their coaching staff better, to make their offensive staff better. Shammgod is in there to do the same thing. Shammgod is certainly more well-known. If you follow any type of basketball, you know about the Shammgod. It is a dribble move that was invented or made popular by Shammgod. He is a legendary New York street baller who got a little cup of coffee in the NBA, has been working his way up through the coaching ranks. He's been with the Dallas Mavericks for almost a decade. He connects with players. He's very much a Magic type guy. Worked with Jamahl Mosley when they were in Dallas. They were very much a Magic type guy where he is connecting with players, helping them get better, doing player development stuff. That is what he does. And obviously this is still a young enough team that they need that. I don't think it's crazy. Like my criticism of the coaching staff or where staff is sort of sitting right now is they needed to graduate from a development outfit to a winning outfit, to a team that is more focused on winning. But I think they are young enough that they still need some development hands, and Shammgod is going to be really, really good at that. Considering the Magic don't have a natural point guard, having a coach who is very focused, certainly very good at handling the ball, making those point guard reads, a guy who connected really well with Kyrie Irving and got him up to speed to the point where the Mavericks went to the finals last year, getting those players up to speed, or being able to connect with those players and hopefully be able to improve their on-ball and ball handling skills, that's going to help relieve the pressure of not having a point guard or not having that true point guard. And so I would say both Prunty and Shammgod, for as much as we know about them and what they're going to do with this team, they are exactly what this team needs. They're exactly the kind of coaching and coaches the Magic need to sort of supplement their roster, to elevate this roster to its next phase, to its next level. And again, I want to stress this. We don't know everything that coaches do. Shammgod, I think, is coming to Orlando on a little bit of a promotion where he's going to do the player development stuff I think the Magic want, but he's also going to scout. And I don't know if he was scouting with Dallas. I think he was a pure player development coach with Dallas. He is an assistant coach, front of bench. I think he's front of bench, but he'll have scouting responsibilities. We will hear him on those halftime reports. He's here to kind of advance his career too. So we'll see. The offense is obviously like a huge question. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. It is a huge question mark. And if the Magic offense is better, then the Magic are going to be a much more dangerous team. So what's the last question that I have? It's actually about the bench, because I'm not convinced the bench is quite where it needs to be and it's vital to the Magic's formula. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to our friends over at Hungry Root. Let's be honest, meal planning and grocery shopping can be overwhelming. Between busy schedules, picky eaters, and trying to eat healthy, it's a lot. That's why I love Hungry Root. They take the stress out of planning by filling your cart for you with personalized groceries and meal options based on what you like and need. Hungry Root uses their smart cart TM technology to recommend groceries, recipes, and even supplements tailored to your preferences. Whether you're dairy-free, gluten-free, focused on gut health, or just trying to eat better, Hungry Root's got you covered. It is so difficult these days to find healthy food options. It's so easy to snack. It's so easy to be caught up in the grocery store in the wrong aisle, getting the wrong food. God knows I am guilty of it too. With Hungry Root, they do the grocery shopping for you, making sure you're getting healthy food, the best food that you can get, and giving you meals that are easy to cook and good for your diet as well. It helps you stick to your nutrition goals without giving up flavor or convenience. So take advantage of this exclusive offer for a limited time. Get 40% off your first box plus a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA. That's hungryroot.com/LockedOnNBA. Code LockedOnNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. The biggest area that should pretty easily improve this season is the Magic's bench. In the 2024 season, the Magic's bench was their superpower. We can talk about Paolo's growth and Franz's growth and Jalen Suggs being healthy for the whole season. We can talk about all those things. But such a big part of that season was when the Magic turned to their bench in the second and fourth quarters, they won those minutes, and teams did not have the ability to keep up because their starters were good enough, but the bench was elite. Orlando in the 2024 season really played well off the bench. 41.5 points per game off the bench. That was fourth in the league. That was the direction the Magic were going in the 2025 season. Before Mo Wagner's injury in December, the Magic were ranked fifth in the league with 40 points per game off the bench. Fifth. They finished 17th with just 35.8 points per game off the bench. They averaged only 33.3 points per game off the bench, which was good for 23rd in the league after Wagner's injury. To say the least, yes, injuries gut your depth. They make it so hard, and the Magic are already so offensively challenged, missing key offensive players. The Magic's bench got pummeled. And so one of the great superpowers that got the Magic to 47 wins was suddenly taken away. Mo Wagner's injury was not a 6-win injury. It did not cost them 6 wins. But it was a bigger factor than I think people are giving notice for. Obviously, the Magic have changed their lineup a little bit. Out is Cole Anthony, one of the leading scorers off the bench with about 9 points per game. Mo Wagner won't be back until December or January, and he's going to need some time to get himself going. He may not fall out of bed and score 10 points like he usually does. The Magic feel like they have some depth, but they do have questions with how their bench is going to produce and how their bench is going to score. Now, Jamahl Mosley typically likes to go to a 10-man rotation. I think that is probably not the right idea for this team. I think a 9-man rotation to ensure that one of their starters is on the floor at all times. And frankly, they should set the rotation up so that 2 of their starters are on the floor at all times, provided the team is healthy. I think depth is still a major concern, especially offensive depth. I'm not so worried about the defense. Defense is going to be there. But their offensive depth, I think, is a concern. Because, A, you threw out one of your best bench scorers, which is fine, understandable. Cole Anthony for Desmond Bain is a good trade. You do that every day. You don't know what you're going to get from Mo Wagner. You don't know when he's going to be healthy. Tyus Jones will give you a solid 10. Anthony Black, you're expecting to take a huge step up. Goga Batadze, while he's playing, yeah, he'll get you garbage points, but He really struggled over the last 2 months of the season last year, or at least when he was playing. Tristan da Silva is coming off a solid but not spectacular rookie year. He's going to be relied on for rotation minutes. And Jonathan Isaac could hit the broadside of a barn last year, shooting wise. Yeah, you'll get pretty good defense, at minimum, pretty good defense. It wasn't elite last year. But I got to wonder, where are the points coming from off the bench? So much, more than any other place on this roster, the Magic are betting on big leaps from a lot of key players. They're betting, look, on a bounce back season than Isaac, which I think is fair, but that's only going to get you 8 or 9 points per game. They're betting on Anthony Black to take a huge leap, to be a lot more comfortable as a scorer. And look, third year, maybe he will take that leap. Maybe it's fair to make that bet. They're betting on Tristan da Silva to be a solid three-point shooter. And look, he has played very, very well in Summer League. And I think the Magic should be pretty comfortable with any of these guys stepping into roles and at least giving them some spot minutes. But are they going to be able to give you the minutes that you need in the playoffs? Are they going to be able to give you what you need to get that extra 2 to 3 wins that you need to secure the 3 seed in the East? Obviously, there's a lot of people betting that they can, and maybe that is a fair bet to make. But I actually think this is still one of the bigger questions for this season. If the Magic's bench is up around 40 points per game, let's say it's 38, 39, 40 points per game, that's probably going to be enough. But if they're inconsistent, if they're struggling under 35 points per game, that to me spells trouble, even if the starting group is improved. And frankly, like, this is the thing. Championship teams don't bet on uncertainty. They don't. Championship teams, and if the Magic think they are a championship team, and maybe it's too premature, and these are bets they have to make for now. Let me phrase it this way. If the Magic are a championship team, if they are going to be a championship team this year, it's going to be because Anthony Black takes a leap and is averaging 13, 14 points per game, or 12, 13, 14 points per game off the bench. It's going to be because Tristan da Silva is a consistent 40% three-point shooter, averaging 8 or 9 points per game. It's because Jonathan Isaac is back up at around 8 or 9 points per game, shooting effectively enough. It's because Mo Wagner comes back and is up around 12 points per game. It's because it's if Tyus Jones is giving you 12, 14 points per game with 5 or 6 assists against his no turnovers. The level that the Magic need to leap, the thing that the Magic need to jump to that next level is their bench. They need a quality bench that they had in 2024 when they stormed the league, but didn't have last year when they struggled. And there's a lot less certainty on this bench than there was last year. You know what you're getting from Cole Anthony, for better or for worse. We don't know if Anthony Black's making that leap. We don't know what Mo Wagner is going to give you. We don't know really what Jonathan Isaac's going to give you. This is, again, these are the questions that the Magic have every right to answer on the court. I'm not saying blow this up or saying that, oh, it's an F because they didn't answer these questions. These are the questions the Magic are comfortable figuring out on the court. They weren't comfortable being the worst shooting team in the league. They went out and got shooters. They weren't comfortable being one of the worst offenses in the league. They went out and improved their offense. We just don't know to what extent. Getting this bench group right, getting this rotation right is really, really, really big for the Magic to take their next step to. And look, it's mid-July. It's not time to freak out about any of this. I'm raising it. I'm asking it. I'm putting it on your radar. I'm putting it on the whiteboard of these are the things that I'm watching when we get to the start of the season. These are the questions. These are the deficiencies that I see that the Magic can solve. And if they solve them, they become really, really good. But we got to see them solve them. These are the toss-ups. These are the things we don't know. And maybe the bench is fine. Tristan da Silva's looked pretty good in Summer League. The things he struggled with in Summer League are the things the Magic aren't going to ask him to do in the regular season. And you use Summer League to see if he can do them. A little bit, Not all the way. Jason Richardson looks like he can contribute a little bit. I think, I wouldn't depend on him for playoff minutes or very many minutes, but Noah Penda is going to be able to do stuff on the floor. Summer League's been good on that front. But depth remains a question, and as we saw during the playoffs this year, depth does matter. And we'll see if the Magic will be able to deliver on these questions moving forward. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places to download the podcast to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can find us on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go check out the Locked On NBA show. Doug, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to know to be the most informed NBA fan, because there is no offseason. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's all part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team each day. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back tomorrow to recap the Orlando Magic Summer League game. Maybe the last time we see the Magic's keep rookies and players that we care about for the roster. We'll see if that ends up being the case. We'll see you after the game tomorrow to recap that game. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.